Hey, good morning. This is Joe from Citrus County Porch Life, bringing you the day AA word of the day for March 22nd, 2025. And today is a Saturday. Now, if you've been listening along, or if you haven't, my new roof is on the top of the house. It looks great. All the flashing has been replaced, and I'm very happy. It just came this morning and moved there one of those giant refuse bins, and I can finally move my car back into the carport. I had to park across the street, which the HOA here doesn't really like you to do, but I did inform them beforehand that you know a carport would be unavailable. So it's up and ready for the next hurricane season. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping they might have put a few extra nails in, and well, we trust on God. Uh, so the AA word for today is no more struggle. And we ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. And that is from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, page 84. When AA found me, I thought I was in for a struggle and that AA might provide the strength I needed to beat alcohol. Victorious in that fight, who knows what other battles I could win? I would need to be strong, though. All my previous experience with life proved that today I do not have to struggle or even exert my will. I will take those 12 steps and let my higher power do the real work. My alcohol problem disappears all by itself. My living problems also cease to be struggles. I just have to ask another acceptance or change is required, whether another acceptance or change is required. It is not my will, but His that needs doing. This is a simple yet very profound quote and daily reflection on what Alcoholics Anonymous can do for you. He, whenever I read this quote, I can't remember the Indian chief's name, but it may have been Wounded Knee uh, but he was in constant fighting all the time, losing little babies, losing all his men, his women being kidnapped, and he just had it. And I don't know if I'm paraphrasing or this is a phrase. He says, I will fight no more forever. And that's what you kind of have to do with AA, I think. At least I had to. I had to realize I didn't really have any more fight in me. I wanted to change. I wanted to become a better spiritual person, and that AA was the way for me to do it. I couldn't try becoming spiritual while I was drinking. I just, I've tried it, and it just did not happen. Uh, little. I'd start out with the best of intentions, and little by little, once again, alcohol took over in my life and became the primary purpose of things. So, yeah, it was very difficult to drink and try to be spiritual. I had books I'd read. Half the time I would never remember what I read. Um, it was only when I could put down the drink and follow the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that I began to grow spiritually. And of course, when I got in there, I didn't really know anything about the steps. And uh, I just I thought I could go from step 1 to step 12 and just beat everybody else in the class, get my diploma, and be out of there. Of course, it's a lifelong process of spiritual development and a daily commitment to just not drink for today. And I am having my coffee in my. I love this mug. I don't know why it's got the same design on both sides, but I love it. So I committed myself to the 12 steps. I also committed myself to the steps when I was in Celebrate Recovery. Uh, and this is I do not have to struggle or exert my will. That was a terrible part. If only the world would do what I say, everything would be great. The hubris in that statement, but that's the way I was thinking. I can very well remember this is the beginnings of my very heavy drinking when they had the peace talks for the Vietnam War, and they were arguing about what kind of table they were going to have. And that went on for like a month because no one wanted to be at one end and the person at the other. They wanted to be equal. And so they eventually decided on a round table. But I was there sitting in a bar having frozen mugs of beer, and which were a quarter, by the way. This is 1974, 75, maybe even earlier for the peace talks. And yeah, and I would do a better job than all the diplomats in getting the war wrapped up. But when you do God's will, and it says in here, and let my higher power do the real work, that's what happens. Uh, when my roof went, it didn't really go, but it was not stable. It had lifted up and came down, and so I didn't have any water damage in this house. Uh, it was, I could have worried about it and done nothing. Well, I left it in God's will. I was able to make all the appointments, all the calls, everything. Put a little fire under the guys to start, getting the permits. Because one of the things that happened when we got hit by the two hurricanes, they only have a small permit office, and they were overwhelmed, thousands and thousands of requests for permits. So in my drinking days, I said, well, I pay my taxes, take mine before his, or, just stupid thinking. And it worked out well. It took me a long time, but there were people much worse than me that lost their whole roof and had water damage throughout the house. I had none of that. So I was willing to wait my turn in line without going ballistic. And in the end, in God's time, it got done. Right after the hurricanes, we entered the dry season. So there really hasn't been that significant rain. And, so I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, I'm happy I didn't go off the wagon and go crazy on people. Being nice to people who are very stressed will get you a long way. So, we definitely need to do God's will, to do it in our life and not our will. I really believe that now, and I pray for knowledge of His will every day and the power to carry it out. And that basically is the whole program wrapped up into a few sentences. And, just one sentence here: we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. One sentence, and that wraps it up. I'm not fighting anymore, not in the physical sense. I'm not wrestling with God. You know, you do this, I'll do this. I'm just saying, your will be done. And it's worked out well. I'm still here, and it was a good chance. I quit the day before I died. That's what my sponsor told me. So be grateful you quit the day before you died. And I saw so very many people die in AA, go out, never make it back, never really make it in. They were interested, they would come into meetings, but they were drinking on the side. I saw people ruin their lives. One particular lady, very sad, I've spoken of her before. She went out and killed a whole family when she was drunk. And I don't mean to minimize what happened to the family that lost their lives, but this woman lost her life too. The rest of her, I mean, she was given a life sentence. So, I wish you all a safe and sober Saturday. That was one of my prime drinking days, very prime drinking day. And I need Sunday to recover, so Saturday was the apex of my drinking. I wish you all a safe and sober Saturday, and we will talk to you tomorrow.